What's up, y'all? It's the Relentless podcast where we're stirring up passion and purpose for marriage.
That's right. We're diving into topics you always wanted to talk about. Real life, real struggles, real love, and real results. So what are we waiting for? Let's go in.
Hey, thank y'all for joining us for episode 3 of our podcast, man. We appreciate y'all tapping in with us. My name is Brock Jones. My beautiful wife, Dominique Jones, man. We're excited to continue to take y'all on a journey of our marriage, our relationship, ins, outs, ups and downs, everything we had to navigate. What a wild ride, man, for a beautiful one, right?
Yeah. So this episode, we're going to focus on just that period of restoration whenever we made that brave choice to come back together and let God work. It wasn't easy, though. So we're going to share a little bit about that today.
That's right. We had to kind of reintegrate ourselves, reintegrate our family, man, and begin to kind of unravel all the things that we had that were actually wrong, right?
Yeah.
Thought processes, the ideology, the habits that we had that were not conducive to a healthy relationship, not conducive to building each other up. And it was a struggle, man. You can get clarity on where you're at and what's going on is wrong, but like when you don't fully have the grasp of how to process it, walk it out, it still can be difficult. It can still have conflict, even though you want to pursue something and make it better, right?
Yeah, definitely. And because, again, me kind of being a single mom for a year, I remember Brock having a lot of insecurities about, oh, well, you know, the baby Savion prefers you and all of this. So it was a lot of those dynamics that we had to work out on top of all the baggage that we hadn't yet processed together.
Right. And we didn't know anything about love languages at the time. We didn't know nothing about Strengths Finder and like, how are you wired? What are your, how do you lean in? What are the things that make her tick? What are the things that make you tick? And how do y'all kind of like become this team, right? And work together to be effective. And we didn't have those resources. And so we were still kind of like crawling and experimenting and figuring things out. And I was just trying to learn how to love personally. Yeah. I didn't know like how to love in a way that you receive love. So a lot of things that I was doing, even after we kind of got up off the floor and came back together, I still don't believe I was loving you in a way that you received love and took it as you genuinely love me and this is why you're doing it. So we still had things we had to iron out. Yeah. And it was rough.
Yeah. And I had to learn to be okay with, even though you weren't meeting that need, like I had to still respect you and honor you and love you and really trust God to satisfy me until you got there. And it came later. But I think the biggest challenge, we had to build trust again. Right. Like I had trust issues to an extent, because not just when we were separated, but there was a point when we had so much distance, you and, you know, or the enemy, whenever there's any type of distance, he will bring in distractions and temptations. And so we had to deal with that. Even the thoughts of, even when we were intimate, just me pulling down thoughts and, you know, imagery in my mind of, well, what about when he was with this other woman? So all of that is like real. And it's a process, but you have to be patient with each other and commit to, I'm willing to move forward, even though it's hard.
Right. Yeah, facts. I had to own something too. Yeah. Right. Like that I broke trust, that I did, that those are wounds, scarred trauma that still was there. And even dealing with my own trauma and triggers of feeling like, okay, I'm alone, you're not my friend.
Right.
You don't like me, that I'm not spiritually the spiritual leader I need to be because I'm not as spiritually mature or as advanced in my faith as you are, as well as just dealing with the fact that like being judged, like all my past mistakes, do you really accept and embrace me, or is it a facade? Like, are you just doing this out of duty to God?
Right.
Or are you genuinely pursuing me as a husband, a man that you like? Yeah. A husband, a man that you love, that you think is, you know, handsome and like a good leader and this and that. I had to fight through that to get my trust to a point where I could trust that what you were doing was genuine. And so that was still mental battles there and heart battles that we had to face while still working.
Yeah.
Still trying to
raising a child, figure it out. Yeah.
Figure it out, life as we move forward. And it was a stretch. Yeah. But I think it was beautiful because it made us stretch. We had to be stretched in our faith. I had to seek God.
Yeah.
that was a pivotal thing that I had to do in that time. Was like, bro, because God told me, like, bro, you can't do this.
Yeah.
Like in your own thought process.
Yeah.
And be the husband and father that you need to be. You need to come to me for that. So I had to do a lot of like, Lord, please teach me, help me. And that was a journey.
Well, we both did. And I think the breakthrough though was in you coming out of that season. God gave you a glimmer of a vision. And so for me as a woman, like I'm a leader in my own right, and we're both strong-willed, strong-minded, but at least he had something to then direct our family. Right. So we began conversations about that. I think sharing, which built some intimacy, right? We're beginning to talk about, well, I'm passionate about this. You're passionate about that. What does God want us to do, and how do we do that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, identity is essential, which is something I didn't have at the time. I had a misplaced identity in the performance aspect of my life and what I was doing and all that kind of stuff. But when God told me, hey, I wired you to do this. This is what's going to bring you joy. This is what's going to bring you fulfillment. This is what's going to like give you and your family something to work towards, which was the music. That he's like, I want you to do music and share your life and your experiences, right? It gave me somewhat of an identity, and that's how I'm wired. This is something he wants us to do. This is something you can help me out sharing. Hey, I wrote this. Hey, I did that. And we began to see, okay, there's something we can do together that's new. It's fun. It's an experience, but we're helping people, right? And it was a new adventure, and it gave us a destination versus us just existing in this cycle of work, come home, argue, fight, raise a kid, work on. And that helped us to have some direction.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Brock is an international recording and performing artist. He's gone by the name A Saint, and has done hip hop for the most part, but he picked up a guitar in this season, right? In this season of restoration and him trying to pursue and understand that identity that God was revealing to him. We began this business together. So we recognized, okay, I have these ideas. I'm strong administratively. Let me support you. Now that it wasn't easy because we had to remember we worked together. So, we had to learn then how to work together as a marital team. And, but we recognized we had to yield to each other's strengths, understanding that where I'm strong and where he's weak, they complement each other if we can just submit to one another. And so it actually was exciting. It was fun. And we got to bring our kids along. Well, at the time, it was just Savion, but like bringing him into that world was great.
Yeah. It was definitely an exciting time, very refreshing. So we had less to fight about, right? More to like enjoy. We also tried to incorporate some dating aspects in there of like creating some date night experiences, because you got to think about it, like we got married so fast. We didn't get to date very long. We really still didn't know each other on that level. We were just trying to incorporate things that would create bonds and like let us get to know each other a little bit better. But it was fun, but we still had things we had to work out, because that was the vision God had given me for me. And he showed us that we were supposed to work together, but he also was speaking things into your heart about things you were passionate about and what you wanted to do. And you try to share some of those things with me. And I was like, no, like what's that?
So within a year of us coming back together, again, I had this renewed passion in my relationship with the Lord. And in doing that, I was hearing more. I was getting more clarity about my purpose and calling. But also for our family. So I was feeling called and kind of a passion for mission work. And so I was like, okay, well, God, what do I do with that? And so through a series of different events, I felt like he wanted us to go to Christ for the Nations, which is a Bible college that sends missionaries and different people in Christian leadership all over the world. And so I went for just a year. He wanted me to focus on global missions and then Christian leadership. And my husband was like, why do we need to go into the mission field when there's so much work to do here? Which is valid, but it's like, we need both. And I felt like this is what God wanted. So there was that tension there. Then it was a big issue because we were required at the time to move on campus. So we were so used to having our own place. And now you're telling me I have to uproot and I have to live on campus and I have to But it was part of the communal experience. He wasn't with it. But so instead of me getting angry and being like, okay, I'm gonna do my own thing as I would have in the past, because of what we went through, I learned like, listen, if God has the hearts of kings in his hand and he can turn them, he can turn my husband's heart. So I just began to pray. I was like, gosh, if you want me to do this, you're going to work it out. And in a few months, he did. By that December, he agreed, not wholeheartedly.
I had some of the reservations.
Yeah.
Based on my where I was in life, my spiritual maturity. I mean, I had a great foundation. I think at that time I had a good foundation of my faith. I think I had grew up a bit, but I still didn't understand certain things. I still was apprehensive about certain things. I used to use the term, man, this is too, your man is too spiritual.
Right.
Like you being too deep about this. Like we at church, we need to go to Bible college for this. This is all new stuff to me. So I was very like, I really know if I want to, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
But I did understand the fact of what God was teaching me about. Your wife is your wife, and she has dreams and visions and things that are on her heart to do to make her come alive. The same way I told you, you have this music thing that makes you. And I had to lean into that and say, "You right, God, and she's right." Even though I don't fully agree, I need to know that I'm supposed to be the one pouring into my wife and allowing her to come alive and thrive too. So I was like, all right, let's go to Christ for the nation, man.
Yeah. So I just want to encourage women. It's very easy to lose yourself in being a wife and being a mom and trying to take care of the home. And what most women do, which is not wrong, right? Because everybody's journey is different. Most women are like, oh, I'm going to wait until the kids get older to pursue this. Well, God really put it on my heart. Like, no, why not now? And we can do this as a family. So we each have an individual relationship with God, responsibility and accountability to God. But there is a common vision. There is a reason that God brings a man and a woman together. And that common vision is not just to bless our family and leave a legacy, but to impact people. So we were like, I don't know, the puzzle pieces were just coming together in that season. So it was exciting. He's right. We didn't have time to argue. And the thing is, God vision is two visions. We had two individual visions for our life that we hadn't talked about. And when God gave us a common vision, then it brought unity and it brought, I don't know, we just learned how to fight together at that point.
It was a different type of fighting going on. We would fight it to figure out these two different God-given, passion-filled things that make us come alive. How does that marry? And there was tension in that.
Yeah.
We was fighting for unity, but we were still fighting too.
Yeah.
Like we was still arguing.
It was a sharpening iron at that point.
Yeah. It was, we still had heated conversations.
Yeah.
We still had nights where we was like.
Yeah. But I finally felt like I had a voice.
Right.
And whether you would hear it or not, I felt a little more empowered to share it, but then trust God to work out the results and the outcome.
Right. So it was a growing time, a growing period. And we had to lean pretty strong into that. I had to learn that when we were at that school, you were getting things that were actually gonna help me.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't schooling, I was just working and taking care of things and still kind of taking on that duty of like, let me make sure that the family's straight while you are doing what you need to do at school.
Right.
We worked this thing out, and communication was still an issue. Parenting was still an issue in regards to Savion and how we were doing that, and that was stressing in the home. And we ended up getting pregnant again, right? And so we had another added
within a month, literally within a month of moving on campus. It was like another like groundbreaking time, and then boom, we're pregnant again. What was cool about it though is I remember I learned so much more about marriage in my missions program than anything. So it's like, even though I was there to learn something, God was like, no, you still got a lot to learn about being a good wife and y'all working together as a team. So it was funny. A lot of it, when I look at my notes in my journal, it was about marriage, and God was still working on it. So anyway, we found out we were pregnant within 2 months of being on campus and moving in. And it's a whole story, but she's actually who I dreamt about when I was pregnant at first with Savion. So it was just that renewed hope and excitement again. But the tension was still there. So I don't know. It was kind of a bittersweet season.
Yeah. And I learned a lot about this being a husband, about learning how to be a little bit more spiritual, not in a weird way, but just more like what's God saying? Am I spending time with the Lord to ask him what we need to do, how we need to move, like what do I need to say or do, and praying for my family? Am I being sensitive to what he's showing me? And like those things were becoming more apparent to me as a husband, because I have a responsibility to be the covering and priest of the home and all of that, spiritual leader, all that. So there's a lot of things coming alive in me in that aspect. It was just fleshing it out was hard. Because I just, as a man, and in my upbringing, I didn't know how to be very emotional. I didn't know how to be very sensitive. I didn't know how to be as considerate as I need to be. And so during that time while you were pregnant and we were arguing and not having certain common ground, meeting each other in a place of sensitivity and like understanding and all that, it began to affect you in ways that I knew hindsight. I was like, yo, that's part of the reason why this hurt and pain and brokenness we going through now happened. I don't know if you want to speak to just the pregnancy and kind of that experience that we went through, but it was man.
It was hard. So it was great. We literally had mountaintop experiences. I think you were finally thriving at work, like you were beginning to travel and like train, and so you were finding your sweet spot there. And I was kind of in my zone of like, oh man, drinking from a fire hose, learning about the things that God had ahead of us. And we were also seeing, okay, well, you're passionate about music and I'm passionate about missions. So there's discipleship. Like we were then even birthing a vision for a Transformers movement, which is a nonprofit. So all of that's happening at the same time. We decided to start homeschooling, and our son is just immersed in all these cultures. So it's a beautiful season. And then in the 9th month of pregnancy, 8 months of pregnancy, I was 32 weeks. I was just at worship one day and ended up having to go, rush to the hospital, and we lost our baby that I was carrying. We had a stillbirth. And I can share it without tears, not because it's been a journey of us processing together. But man, it was humbling because literally the night before we had got into it and weren't even talking to one another. And I think what was even more staggering was that not only did we lose her, but I could have lost my life. I had preeclampsia, and some women don't survive that. Like the cure was having her, and it broke us. It shook off some of that last pettiness that we still had. We learned that life is so short that in an instant something can happen.
Right.
And it's not worth it. Right. It's not worth it.
Yeah, it definitely made us value life. Made us like look at some things that we would like argue and fuss about, and like this tension that we would have, that really, when we analyze it for what it is, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
And then like, man, I had questions about, man, was this my fault? Like, because I was pressing you about something, trying to force you to talk about something that you didn't want to talk about. And it was stressful. I could have just like chilled and been like, man, it ain't that serious. Like so many questions that I had, and we got to thinking about it, like, that ain't worth it. I love you.
Yeah.
This not worth it. Like instead of arguing, we should be loving each other. Instead of fussing over things, like we should be embracing one another. And we had to learn how to like embrace each other in ways that we didn't in the past. Worship, like we worshiped in that hospital room with God to say, God, we don't understand this, but I know that you're gonna take us through this, and we need to get closer. And losing Mariah like that unexpectedly, it broke us in a way that we were able to like take each other's hands and let's put each other back together again and do this together, and like let's grow in ways we want to together.
And that level of trauma, I've heard, can either drive you apart. Like some marriages don't make it through that because you can do the blame game. But for us, it really it pushed us closer. It forged our relationship. I remember that week, my mom came down, so she took care of my son. So we got to just connect. We hadn't watched the Star Wars series before that. So we binged watched it. One of my mentors gave it to us and we binged watched it together. And we used it as an opportunity to build a stronger bond instead of now what we did, we learned that everybody grieves differently, which we'll talk about in a later episode. So we had to respect, like, I don't want a whole bunch of people. I just need to process. He wanted people to come. So we had to work through some of that. But for the most part, it birthed something beautiful in our relationship. And I remember not long before that, I had just got a guitar for you. And you had just a few chords from a guy I worked with at a daycare. And Brock began to play, but God, like, you wrote a beautiful song because of that pain. So it's like, it's all how you respond to something. And we lean into the Lord and into one another and we worship through it. And I think that really shaped us as a couple, but also like as leaders, right? Because you walk through things that you're never ready for. Like that could have rocked our world, but we responded in the approach. I mean, we didn't know what to do, but worship and like just lean on each other. And literally within a month, you went on your first trip overseas.
Only after that, it was the pain birth growth.
Yeah.
The pain birth a story, another story in our journey. It birthed songs, words.
Yeah.
It birth healing for ourselves and a lot of people. And God was like, hey, I'm gonna take care of that.
Yeah.
But this is another step in your journey. And he continued to begin to unfold what he spoke to me when I was, on the floor crying out when we were separated. He's like, I'm gonna take you around the world. Here's an opportunity for you to go pour in, do what you was created to do. I was able to speak and perform at a Korean church in Allen, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, man, we need you in Korea. I'm like,
yeah.
Man, Korea, come with us to South Korea. What? I ain't never. The farthest I've been was Louisiana. Like, go see Simeon being born. And so I shared that with you, and you was like, "Hey, oh yeah, that's
we have to."
Yeah, you weren't like, "Nah."
Yeah,
we didn't have the money, we didn't have nothing. It was all fake, and you was like, "Yeah, that's like you need to go." And October of that year, I got on a plane and went to South Korea.
And then the very thing that you were like questioning probably a year before, like missions, why missions? Well, God was like, nope, he needs to go first. And I was a little salty, like, what you mean, God, you sending him first? I wanted to go to Africa. He was like, nope, I need to send him first. He needs to be the front runner in this. And I need to birth that passion in his heart. And he did. He broke his heart for the nations. And he came back. And I just want to say, like, what we experienced wasn't either one of our faults. God didn't want us to lose our baby. The enemy thought that was going to stop us. He thought it would tear us up. He thought it would stop us from moving forward. Instead, we let it propel us forward. And everything that we've done since is because of that.
Facts. And I love Root. Just to, be clear on that. Our passion for what we were created to do grew, but I genuine love and affection for each other as husband and wife, as like, you my friend, like you know what I mean? Like I want you to be well and whole and loved. I want to do what I can to serve you. Like that grew, and it continued to grow as we continue to see each other, like kind of like evolve into who we're supposed to be. Like, bro, really, like, really doing this thing? Like, we really doing this? And it just gave us like some power.
Yeah,
that definitely helped us to like value each other's strengths and the teamwork aspect of marriage. We began to see it manifest, and it was like, this is what we were made for. Not those first couple of months or that first couple of years, or we were just like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it was beautiful for sure.
So what did that look like practically when we walked through those stages of from the beginning of like recognizing how we were different and how they work together? What did that look like through all the roles and things we've done together?
I think it looked like I suck at emails and I suck at, strategizing and documenting and organizing. how things would go, itinerary stuff, planning out homeschool kind of thing, like all of that stuff. I was like, yo, listen, we're gonna be jacked up if I'm doing like that's not my strength. Now we hadn't took any tests and nothing like that. This was just an evaluation of how our home functioned.
Yeah.
I'm more of like the voice of encouragement, the life of the party, the visionary, like, hey, listen, man, this is what I feel like we should be doing. This is that, da 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 da. Da. Like I'm that person. Dominique is like, okay, yeah.
I'm the executor. I help get it done.
Yeah. And so like I was the musical person and she was like, okay, who's booking you? What time is it? Where's it go? Okay, you need to leave by this time. And how much are they paying you? Did you did you email? And so we began to learn that like you thrive and that I don't. I can try to do it, but let me let you do it.
Okay.
And let me do these things that I can do. Because if I do that, now we're working efficiently instead of like I'm over here messing up stuff or you trying to communicate in a way that you're not good at.
Right.
Brock, can you communicate that? Can you do? And we began to just learn and lean into each other effectively.
Yeah.
Versus just, I'm going to do everything. Don't worry about sit over.
Right.
That's how we used to get down. And that was not conducive.
Yeah.
A healthy relationship and productivity.
Yeah. And I was very comfortable behind the scenes, but then it was a season of as Transformers movement built, you were the visionary, but then you had to pivot as you went into being a young adult pastor. So then I had to become kind of the mouthpiece and the front runner of Transformers movement. I helped build the systems, build the team, but then I had to go out and like speak. And God had even put me at another organization and I'm now speaking and presenting. So it's kind of cool that we recognize that, but then I had to be okay to grow in some things that weren't necessarily my straight.
Right. And that took like vulnerability.
Yeah.
It took conversation. So we was learning through this time of our marriage, like we got to communicate and talk about stuff, which was difficult, in the past. And it still was at that time, communicating effectively. But all this stuff was building more intimacy.
Yeah.
Because we began to like each other more. Like it wasn't in the past where we was like, I don't like when you sound like my mom. Like I used to have them feel like you sound like my mom. So tell me what to do and how to do this, and I would technical difficulties, real life right here, really hard in my own.
No.
All right, we on. Hopefully y'all hear us. I'm sure y'all hear us. But yeah.
But yeah, making sure you're not giving your family your scraps. So like having boundaries on the amount of time that you're out serving, and that you're including them in the journey as much as you can. Mm-hmm. And also as far as leadership, just recognizing that every gift that God put in each of you is a gift to the marriage, whether it challenges you or not. It's a gift to the marriage. So it's all about perspective and how you look at it.
Yeah. That's good stuff, man. Good stuff. I hope y'all are enjoying just kind of getting I don't want to even say sneak peek. You kind of getting the bare everything.
Oh, there's more. So anytime we're an open book. So we'd love to connect with you and share more details of our story.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a journey we're on now. This is a new chapter of us kind of opening the doors to our life, our marriage, our journey, even some of the ministries and businesses that we're doing. And you're going to get to learn a lot more about Relentless Love coaching, opportunities we've had to pour into marriages. We've seen so many marriages, man, that's been around us that hit walls and then people tapped out. I'm done. I'm out. And we had proximity and our hearts was broken because we was like, man, we should have talked to them more. Yeah. Man, why didn't they call us? Why didn't they ask, why didn't they reach out? Why didn't we have more relationship capital with them to be able to share what we overcame, what we went through and how we got on the other side of it. Instead, we kind of just was like, and then go another one.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing is humility, recognizing that I don't care, even the strongest of marriages, there's always conflict. It's just part of life. Right. So there's no perfect marriage. We all have our issues and not enough people are being real and transparent about what it really looks like. Mm-hmm. They show kind of the Instagram reel of, this is This is us. We're on vacation.
Right.
But they're not empowering others by bringing them into the struggle. And so that's part of why we wanted to start this podcast and share. We can hopefully reach more people, but let you know that you're not alone either.
Right.
So it's letting you know that, hey, we deal with it too, but you're not alone. Like somebody else is going through the same thing. So it's not just you. It's not something wrong with you. It just conflict is an opportunity for deeper connection and deeper intimacy. So don't run from it.
Yeah. Credit to Pastor Sunday Connect.
Yeah.
Great guy, man. Powerful man. Full of wisdom. He said something that always stuck with me, man. I forgot what we was at. I don't know, the conference. If it was just a sermon or something was another bit, I have no idea. I can't remember. But he was talking about marriage one time, and he said marriage is like spiritual sandpaper. He said you get married, it's friction of two people rubbing up against each other all the time. And the rubbing up against each other like sandpaper. Sandpaper is rough, it's rigid, it's coarse, right? And so if you rub some sandpaper across like a table or your arm, it's gonna like rub some, like it's gonna scratch some stuff off, right? But sandpaper is used to smooth out like an item or piece of wood. It's used to like basically like shape it into beauty. It hurts, it's shaving off things, but the finished product is a smooth, beautiful piece of wood, a chair, a table, or something like that. And so in marriage, if you run from the friction, I don't want no conflict. I don't want to argue. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to deal with it. And you're running from the very thing that's supposed to help shape you into a beautiful person, a beautiful person inside and out. And so conflict is necessary for us to be able to deal with our problems, our issues, and to come out more healthy, the whole, more intimate, and a beautiful marriage. Marriage is spiritual standard. Ooh, that was good. That was good, man. Thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. Episode 3 in the books. We got a lot more coming. We got a lot more things we want to resource and talk to y'all about. It's getting greater and greater, man. So thank y'all for taking this journey with us, man. We love y'all. Peace.